C#. In my last video, I said I won't be showing much of the code because that's nerd shit. And so today, I'll be showing you that nerd shit from my game, Cosmos Industry. Even though I left it out of the last video because it kinda scares me, thanks to Ragnos 1, I'll be diving into the depths of my forgotten code, into the ruins of once understood scripts. I'll get right into it, but for those of you who can't tolerate long videos, but actually are interested in my screwed up code, I'll be making shorts for each part separately, and they'll be up on my channel right now, so you can go check them out if that's your thing. Now then, this is what I named the script for basic movement of items. Full disclosure, this one's not mine, so I won't be explaining in detail, but it works by drawing a line from the point where you started holding the item to the current cursor, and then moves the item along that line. That is the most important script that I would put in the movement category. Next is the script known only as follow, because I don't know how else to explain it. It's pretty much everything connected to the functionality of items. It started with only the code for the item to follow the storage it's in when disabled, and then appear at the correct place when enabled, but then I decided to add this. This piece of code checks if you are currently holding the item that the script is attached to. And this piece saves the position of the object while also checking the parent object of the script. It's either item shoot or items. And then we come to this part, where the item either shrinks or grows depending on the parent object. But I apparently still thought that more is needed in this script, and so I also added collision detection, and it differs depending on the parent object. It disables then enables collision to not limit the amount of objects in the shoot by space. And that concludes the follow script. There are a lot of scripts I won't be talking about because, look, some of them are almost empty, functioning only as buttons but game objects. Or this one that checks the bool, the true or false for those of you who don't know what bool is, of another object's script, and then turns off colliders for another object. And I won't be explaining the minigame scripts because they aren't done yet. Mostly they're just prototypes for now. The other important scripts are selling, buying, and crafting scripts. And right now, I'll be talking about the duo that caused me the most pain, the tag team of inside selling box and buying menu. And there are many supporting scripts that make this a web that I most certainly will get tangled into. So stick with me and let's dive right into the sea of code without any documentation and a lot of broken logic in between them. It all starts when a storage box of any size goes into this hole right here, and that's when the script checks if the object that's been put in has the tag storage and if it was being held so that random floating objects don't get caught in at random. Then it cycles through the items in said storage, taking and printing their names and prices after sorting them alphabetically, and also adds all the prices together so that you don't have to do any math. Then it sets a button to confirm the sale active. After that button is pressed, this code takes us to this forgotten function accurately named sale, where the code checks if a customer is present, after which it adds the money to the total you have, destroys all the items that were in the storage box by destroying the box itself, and resetting the text. And don't worry, this little piece of code checks that if the storage box that was put in still exists, it's not going to instantiate a new one, but if it's been destroyed, it creates a new one. But also, that isn't the only thing this cheeky button does, because that would be a little too convenient. And so at the same time, it also calls this script. Wait a minute, I'll find it right. Oh, there it is. It's in the buying menu script. There it opens the buying menu and takes a list of items from the visitor prefab that's currently instantiated, where the items that are being sold are specified. Then it takes these items, and for each of them, it either creates a button with the item's info or just adds 1 to the amount of items that can be sold. When you press one of these buttons, they jump from the sale list to the cart, and with this button you end the transaction and buy all the items that are in the cart. That instantiates all the items, subtracts money spent, and triggers this function from the spawning people script that handles the destruction of the customer. Yeah, that sounds ominous. The final script I'll explain is the crafting, which thank the gods is pretty simple. We start off in the intake of items that checks if the collided item was being held and is an item by the tag. Then it disables the item and displays the sprite on the next free display. It's also added to a list of strings, which are their names. But remember, each item has 2 colliders, and since I can't use the collision function because then all the other draggable items would just bounce off, I need to use the onTrigger function that makes the item get put in twice, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I also put in this little command that checks the ID of each inputted item. Ha! See? You completely missed that when I was showing you the items, right? Well, I use a generated ID that's different for each item, and if it's already in the list, it doesn't add it again. Simple so far, isn't it? Now this green button triggers the craft function in this script, and the red one re-enables all the items and moves them down here, whilst also clearing the list. When the craft function is triggered, the objects are converted to their names, like I said before, and the list is only now sorted alphabetically and sent to the script known to us as crafting item, where the list of item names is checked against that's the long list of crafting recipes. If none of these recipes match the list of items, the items come back and nothing happens. But if one does match, the minigame's connected to the if statement that was chosen, and yes, by the way, that was the best way to check crafting recipes that I know of. The minigames get added to a queue, and we go to this function. This function calls the first script, and more specifically the destroy function in it. And while that destroy function takes the list of items that were inputted, and then clears the list while also deleting all the items on the list, at the same time, we move to the scene that's used only for minigames, and that is where the web ends for now. So if you enjoyed this very convoluted and messy game of hide the logic, please check out me other videos where I yap just as much as here, and consider leaving a like and subscribing. Thanks for listening, and see you next time, I hope.